Everybody's favorite temporary bedroom setup studio is back again. You know what I have to say to that? Don't blame me, blame the mosquitoes. But yeah, have these been some of the most painful months you've ever endured as a New Jersey Devils fan? Zach, well, yes, absolutely. Do we have to recap them? Why, yes, we do.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I promised y'all bonus episodes, and this is what we get. This is Locked On Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in the world. My name is Zach Berman. Happy weekend, happy bonus episode number one. There are going to be two more to come, and you will see them when they are posted. But yeah, it is almost March, aka the best month of the year to be a basketball fan, and should be the best month of the year to be a New Jersey Devils fan. But we can't always get what you want. At least that's what the Rolling Stones like to sing, or get close to singing. That's nowhere near what they actually sing. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. And what the Devils need is an organizational house cleaning, to say the least. But why? How did we get here? Or even despite a win? Oh yeah, they won tonight. You can find my recap of that game. They're still 11 points out of a playoff spot despite the win. How did we get here? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it is time to recap January and February 2026. For better or for worse. Let's do this, guys. January begins innocently enough. On New Year's Eve 2025, the New Jersey Devils end a year that they came into on top of the world and leave behind one of the most middling organizations in the National Hockey League. Everything about the New Jersey Devils record in 2025 screams mediocrity personified. But the New Jersey Devils came in to 2025 on top of the Metropolitan Division, on top of the Eastern Conference. Now that we know that was a fluke, the Devils came into 2026 in a pretty bad spot, although with a signature win, because on New Year's Eve, the Devils went into Columbus, Ohio, and after two brutal periods of hockey at Nationwide Arena, the Devils decided, oh yeah, we actually have some talent. We can show it to you guys, and we're going to score 3 goals in short order and win the game. Was the season saved? Well, that's what the marketing team would have liked you to believe. Well, it seemed that way after the first game of 2026. January 3rd, the Utah Mammoth come to the Prudential Center. And things seem good. Great even. Devils win 4-1. Surprise. This tragedy starts off with a little bit of a happy time for all of us. Timo scored. Dougie finally got back on the board. The Devils took a 4-0 lead in this game. And Michael Carcone's goal for Utah was just kind of garbage time stat padding. Everything felt great and dandy. And then the boogeyman comes to town. One day later, Carolina Hurricanes come to Newark, and although the game starts about as ominously as one could possibly expect, aka Luke Hughes scores on his own net 51 seconds into the game. The Devils respond, tie the game a few minutes later. Dawson Mercer makes it a 1-1 tie. Of course, you know how this story ends. The Devils lose 3-1. Luke Hughes gets booed every time he touches the puck. Madness ensues. It felt like the vibes had been taken down a notch and things were at a low. Oh boy. How little we knew. 2 days later, at UBS Arena in Elmont, New York. Do I even need to say what happened? 9-0 was the final. Jacob Markstrom was left in for all 9 goals. Statistically, the worst single-game goaltending performance in the modern history of the National Hockey League. Great stuff all around, right? And everybody the next morning, oh yeah, that was on national television. There was a jersey thrown on the ice it was a Subban jersey. PK Subban was in the booth for it. And everybody could only think to themselves, well, surely we're going to show up tomorrow morning and somebody's going to be fired, right? Nope. Sheldon Keefe comes back, leads the team onto the ice for practice. Next day at the Prudential Center, like nothing happened. Like nothing happened. Everything is awesome. It's like in the Lego movie. Everything is awesome. The Devils would only lose 4-1 2 days later instead of 9-0. 4-1 in Pittsburgh to the Penguins. Didn't they just do that 2 days ago? Yeah, they did. This was less spectacular implosion, more just, oh well, this team is bad. Hopefully they do something about it. What would they do about it? Well, they'd travel to Winnipeg against, at the time, the worst team in the National Hockey League, and they'd lose to the Jets 4-3. Despite outshooting Winnipeg 27-22, Jake Allen had a really bad game. This was Jonathan Kovacevic's first game back. There was a goal by Jonas Siegenthaler that was called offsides, waved off controversially. Jake Allen was terrible. Devils didn't show any fight in the third. And it felt like the season was on life support. But pain doesn't come without hope, right? One day later, the Hughes Bowl. Oh, yeah, by the way, Quinn Hughes is actually playing for the Minnesota Wild now, not the Vancouver Canucks, and unfortunately, not the New Jersey Devils. All 3 Hughes brothers take the ice once and for all in St. Paul, Minnesota, against a surging Wild team. This felt like it was going to be a tipping point, and the Devils win emphatically. Jesper Wallstedt has a bad night. The Devils win 5-2. Jesper Bratt pops off. Andre Palat scored. That doesn't happen that often. In fact, he scored twice. And the Devils really went out there and crushed the Wild. They'd follow it up with another win. 3-2 in overtime over the Seattle Kraken, a game where they handily outshot Seattle. And Nico Hischier won it on the backhand in OT. And thus, they would come face to face with the boogeyman once more. Carolina would come calling, and this, I said, was a statement game. If they win, everything's on the table. If they lose, nothing's on the table. What do you think happened? They lose 4-1 to the Hurricanes. Give up a hat trick to Andrei Svechnikov. They get caved in the third period, getting outshot 15-9. And now things are bad. Oh, they were bad a while before? Oh, you don't say. But just when you're out, they pull you back in. The Western Canada trip beckons, and the Devils start out winning in overtime in Calgary, 2-1 over the Flames, outshooting the Flames 32-22. Simon Nemec, the overtime king of the New Jersey Devils, wins it in OT on just a beautiful finesse play. How would they follow that up? Something they never do. They win both halves of a back-to-back. This time in Edmonton against the reigning Western Conference champion Oilers. Jake Allen stands on his head, and even though the Devils only get 17 shots on goal, 2 of them go in. Can they build off of it? Yeah, actually they can. Cody Glass has one of the best games of his career. Lenny Hamanaho scores his first NHL goal. Devils almost blow a 3-0 lead. They almost blow a 4-2 lead, but they don't, and win against the ghastly Vancouver Canucks 5-4. Maybe they're still alive. Maybe they're still in it. One last stop on the Pacific Northwest tour. It's back stateside, Climate Pledge Arena, Seattle, Washington. And Jacob Markstrom craps all over himself. The Devils implode in the third period, and they lose 4-2 to the Kraken, despite outshooting them 29-19. This was a Jacob Markstrom loss through and through. All right. So you still took 3 out of 4 from the Pacific Northwest swing. How can you turn the tide at home? The John McClane Ring of Honor night awaits you. And the Devils don't show up. A 14-5 second period onslaught and shots by the Jets is the tune to a 4-3 loss to a bad Winnipeg team on home ice. Jake Allen is bad again. The Devils try and furiously come back, outshooting the Jets 15-4 in the third. Connor Hellebuck stands on his head. Wouldn't be the last time this winter he does that. And Winnipeg holds on to deliver the Devils and their fans a gut punch in a crucial game. But wait, the Devils say, we're still relevant. We're still alive. 2 days later, Nico Hischier will win it in overtime against the Nashville Predators on a beautiful goal. Oh, yeah. Jack Hughes left this game 42 seconds into the contest with what we now know is was a groin injury. So if you're noticing a trend, it's always just when you think they're out, they pull you back in and vice versa. January was mediocrity personified. At this point in time, they were 7-7-0 and 4-4 on the road. One last game in the month of January against the Ottawa Senators, a team reeling, rife with off-the-ice drama. Linus Ullmark is starting in the first game in over a month for him, and he's been one of the worst goalies in the league. From here on out, you're going to notice a trend. The Devils stink in third periods. They get clobbered in the third and lose 4-1 to the Senators. This was the loss where you just knew it was done. I feel like we had like 15 of those. But despite getting outshot 34-27 and losing on Hockey Night in Canada, the Devils still have 2 more games at home before the Olympics. One against the Columbus Blue Jackets that I attended. It was a terrible game. One of the worst games I've ever attended, not just from a Devils fan standpoint, from a hockey standpoint. The hockey was terrible. And in the third period, tied 0-0, a team came alive. It was not the New Jersey Devils. They get slaughtered in the third period, give up 3 consecutive goals, and lose in shutout fashion to the Blue Jackets 3-zip, get booed off the ice. I started a Fire Tom Fitzgerald chant. We all had a blast. How would the Devils send things off into the break? They would lose. Again, 3-1 to the New York Islanders. They actually scored a goal this time. That was neat. But Bo Horvat scored with less than 5 minutes to go in the third, and that was curtains. And despite only allowing 14 Islander shots to the Devils 24, the Devils would lose. So where do we stand right now? At this point in time, since the turn of the new year, the Devils are 7-10-0. Bad. Handily out of a playoff spot. But then a little something crazy happens. It's called the Olympics. And Jack freaking Hughes scores the golden goal. And the United States wins gold for the first time since 1980, beating our rivals to the north in Canada. An incredibly satisfying moment. And the New Jersey Devils would return home in front of a packed house against their old coach in Lindy Ruff and the Buffalo Sabres. And anticipation was high. Jack gives a crazy awesome speech pregame. Chants of USA, USA. There was juice in the building once more. And maybe life. Maybe things were back to the way they should have been. Maybe Devils fans had a reason to finally hope once more. Oops, sorry. The Devils did the Devils thing again. They forget how to score goals. They get bent over in the third period, and they lose 2-1 to the Buffalo Sabres and former head coach Lindy Ruff. But wait, there's a back-to-back to start the final stretch of the season? Why would they do that to us? I said the Devils already lost to the Penguins 4-1 over this stretch. Well, it's a buy one, get one free, baby. They lose to the Penguins 4-1 again. And at this point, the brand of Devils hockey that even we saw in November and December has become more unwatchable. It has become more bleak. The team is playing worse and worse in every game. And I'm repeating myself on this podcast over and over and over again. When are things going to change? When are things going to change? Oh, their practice. Sheldon Keefe is still leading the team out to practice. Oh, cool. Things aren't going to change. Over and 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 over again until we're all blue in the face and the sun explodes. But they do end the month of December with a win. Yay! And I made a video about that win. It's on this channel. I enjoyed making that podcast. I hope the team enjoyed winning it. But the Devils won. They actually won a real life hockey game. It may have been against a really bad team in the St. Louis Blues, but win's a win. And thus, we end this weird, odd, Olympic abbreviated stretch with the New Jersey Devils holding a record in January and February, a combined 8, 12, and 0. No loser points. And that's a big problem because loser points matter in this league. This team stinks. What were the positives? What were the highlights? That win against Utah was fun. Nico scored 2 awesome goals in overtime. That Nemec goal was pretty sick in Calgary. And Lenny popped off for a point in January and early February. Haven't seen that spark with him since, but I mean, he's a kid. I'll cut him some slack. What was the low point? Maybe it was when they allowed 9 goals in one game and scored none to the New York Islanders, who, by the way, they keep on winning. I feel like I'm back at a sleepaway camp. We're going high, hero, and ha. No, but that also implies there's no low point. There was definitely a low point. It was the Devils giving up 9 goals. I mean, if you want to go with the high point of the whole stretch, I mean, it was very obviously Jack scoring the golden goal. By the way, Jack Hughes, who I can confirm is not in an arranged marriage per his agent, which is a statement I never thought I'd say. That's the weirdest moment of the year, of the entire season. And I say this with Jack on Saturday Night Live right now, which I'm missing, but I'll see it in the morning. Jack Hughes' agent, Pat Brisson, has confirmed to Forbes that his client is not marrying billionaire heiress Aisha Aurora on Saturday, debunking reports that had widely circulated in Indian news outlets ahead of her lavish wedding. Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm just a little bit bummed I didn't get the invite. That's all I got for this bonus episode. Trade deadline preview coming next. Stick around. Oh, and fire Tom Fitzgerald. Can't forget that one.